Thanks for joining me today for a special episode of Think Big with Michael Zellner, powered by Platinum Jewelers. All positive, no politics. This Saturday at the FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee, the University of Memphis is going to be retiring the number 55 jersey that was worn by the late, great Lorenzen Wright. My guest today on the show is someone who probably outside of Lorenzen's family, probably knows him better than I would say anybody else. He spent a ton of time with him. He's here today to tell us a little bit more about the Lorenzen than he knew so very well. In full transparency, my guest Beau and I have known each other probably a little bit over 27 years now. Both he and his father, Dean, were my personal trainers for several years. And that not only turned into just a training relationship, but it's turned into a longtime friendship with Beau. And Beau, I'm just really excited to have you on today. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. It's great. It's great to see you. We don't get to see each other often because we're on, different ends of the Southeast. But I'm pumped.
It's been about 5 years. I guess the last time I saw you was 4 or 5 years ago when you guys popped into my old store, Sleepy Z's.
We did. I brought the kids over. We popped on the couch.
I still have some great pictures of that. So that's a lot of fun. I had a great time just meeting the kids. This is episode 104, and this is part one of my interview with Beau. I'm going to bring him back for part two later on. We're going to talk about his great father, Dean, and Beau, and the great training they've done with all the different people over the years, regular people like me and a lot of professional athletes too. But today is strictly about Lorenzen Wright. And Lorenzen is a really special guy. And Beau is someone who has a lot of great stories to tell, and I can't wait to hear those today. So, Beau, I'm really excited. Today's all about Lorenzen. So let's start this off. Tell us a little bit about how you and Lorenzen initially met and how your close relationship got started.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am originally from Memphis as well. And as all the fans of Ren would know, he played at Memphis, and my dad was actually the strength coach at Memphis State University, University of Memphis, before they parted ways. And I was always around. So my dad grew up training a lot of the Memphis players once he left, opened his own place. And then just by being in there, I got to meet Ren, and then I became a trainer. And that was where I first met Ren. I had seen him play when my dad would go to the games, et cetera. And it was, just to see it live. I don't know how many people remember that, but oh my gosh.
Yeah. I saw a lot of those
games were insane. And as a kid, I'm 13 years old and I'm like, wow, this is insane. And I just developed a relationship via my father with some of the players and developed a really special relationship with Lorenzen. Strangely enough, when I was younger, we'd shoot around. And the fact that I could sometimes beat him in horse, I think helped the situation a little bit.
That's fun.
I'm going to be open here. He could beat me any day of the week in horse.
Right.
But when I was younger, I could shoot left-handed and right-handed. So I would switch it up. And that kind of sparked his interest. Like, wait, hold on. This little kid is beating me. What is going on? And I say little kid. Really, I was just little and he was big. I was a teenager still. But yeah, that's kind of where it started, just shooting around. His dad was around and shooting all the time in our gym. And then, my dad helped everybody know everybody. As you know, you were there. Yep. Everybody knew everybody. So once introductions were made, it was family everywhere we went. So that was it. This little kid, just that was it. And
that must have been a really fun time for you as a kid.
It was. I don't know if you can imagine. But what's strange about that is that it was just normal for me.
Right.
And Lorenzen made it normal. Everybody that met him, you automatically felt like you were his best friend. He invited you in on every conversation. He didn't make you feel left out or anything. So at that age, to not feel like, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't want me around or anything was really cool.
That's awesome. He graduated from Booker T. Washington in Memphis. He was a McDonald's All-American in 1994 during his senior year. He had a lot of offers, from across the country, but he chose to play basketball, for Larry Finch in Memphis State. What do you think led him to that decision to go to Memphis?
Well, as you might have known, Ren is family, family, family. And because everybody was in the area, I mean, it was, and, I remember Coach Finch back in the day. I mean, the players loved him.
Absolutely.
I mean, they loved him. So if he could get in front of a player and talk to him, it'd be like, all right, this is a no-brainer. This guy's great. We love him. The players all loved him. There was good rapport there. But I personally think it was family. Everybody. I mean, everybody was in the area, and it was a no-brainer. Memphis basketball was great, so it wasn't like he was going to a team that was not good.
Right. This is right after the Penny Hardaway era.
Oh, immediately after. Can you imagine if the two played together? And we used to talk about that all the time. Think about that. They're like one off from playing with each other. So yeah, Anyway.
Yeah, Penny left after his second year, and so he missed that year. If he had stayed one more year, obviously he wasn't going to stay.
No,
if he had stayed one more year, that team contends for the national title that year.
There's no doubt about it. That would have been it was incredible. And yeah, it's family and Coach Finch are the two things. And like I said, if you knew him, it was family.
That makes a lot of sense. He was selected, 7th in the first round of the NBA draft by the Los Angeles Clippers in 96. And he was in the green room at the time. And for people that don't know, the green room is the room where in the draft where the players, their families and agents, they go to wait to being called up on stage by, commissioner. At that time, I believe it was David Stern. Only the best of the best are in that room. He only played, as we talked about, only played 2 years of college ball, but he was such an explosive player. What do you think made him so good?
Oh, work ethic. So, even with his father, I mean, he would get up and run miles, and he's a big guy. You got to remember, he was playing power forward, and then in the league, he played more, a lot of center as well. When, he put size on, he never stopped running. Like he would get up, very disciplined. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go run. I'm going to have some water. I'm going to run every morning. And he worked his way up to doing 5 miles a day with his dad. I mean, they went out there and, his dad had him go run and, and discipline. And once you start that, as a young guy, he always got up and worked. And then, you go to college, same thing. I'm going to get up and work. I'm going to get up early and I'm going to work. And then that was a no-brainer for the strength coaches that were there too, my dad included. They didn't have to do anything except tell him what to do and when to do it. He would show up, do it, and then excel at it.
That takes such a lot of discipline for such a young guy to be able to do that, because so many players do not have that discipline.
No, they don't. And I mean, golly, for him at a young age, there's so many distractions out there too. I mean, just you're in college, you're young, you're one of the best players in the nation. I mean, we're talking top 10 in the nation. I would have said closer to 1, but that's obviously my opinion. Right. But that's just, because he worked beyond hard all the time. Hey, when are we going to work? I got to get up and run first. Then I can eat. Then I can get my shots up later. Then I can go to practice later on my own. Then I can go lift weights later on my own after that, So, yeah, he just instilled early in life that discipline and regimen to get up, work hard, and then everything else just kind of fell in place.
In 1999, he was offered a 6-year, $30 million contract with the Clippers, but he was ready to move on. They wanted to stay in the rebuilding process. And I'm sure he wanted to play for a contender. So he wanted out of that Clippers deal. He almost stayed in LA though, because the Lakers, offered him a 1-year deal for $2 million. I'm pretty sure he's glad he did not sign that contract, because he ended up getting that 7-year, $42 million offer from the Atlanta Hawks, which he happily signed. It was a sign and trade deal. The Hawks, they gave up 2 first-round draft choices to get Lorenzen. This was his first big contract. Yeah, it had to be such an amazing time for him in his life.
Oh, beyond amazing. And of course, the significance of number 42, you might have noticed as well. With the, that would kind of sweeten the pot with his number that he played with. But yeah, I mean, for him, it was time to move on. He did some great things at LA. But the potential, Atlanta saw the potential in him. And I think that's what he wanted. And of course, God, I'm going to go back to family first. You're a lot closer to family. Now, he had family out in LA as well, right. But family, immediate family, close family, we're talking right in the Southeast. So Atlanta, a hop and a skip away from Memphis. I mean, that's easy. Yeah, he was pumped.
Speaking of family, his parents, which you mentioned, his dad, mom, Deborah, dad, Herb, had such a big influence on his life. There's probably a lot of people that might not know that Herb actually played professional basketball, over in Finland, and he once had a tryout with the Utah Jazz. Tell us a little bit more about them.
Oh, man. Well, I saw Herb every day, and that's because Ren was working every day on the court, and Herb was facilitating all the drills, everything. And then Deb, she was, oh my gosh, she was the spirit. For people who know her, she just was full of energy, and it's the mix of the two, because Herb was diligent and, regimented and structured. Deb was excitable and spirited, like I just said. And, and the mix of the two of them was just, created such a wonderful man in Lorenzen. Herb, he played overseas. He never talked about it.
Oh, really?
He never talked about it. And, his situation, nobody would assume he played, but man, he, on a side note, he had the biggest arms on the planet Earth, and he could shoot a ball from anywhere on the court, no matter what. I mean, it was incredible.
He did that out of his wheelchair?
Out of his wheelchair, yeah. I mean, we're talking just cross-court passes, easy shots, everything. Man. And he never complained. Herb never complained. And for a son to see that he's not complaining, he could have played this, could have done that, and never said, what if? He's like, what? It happened. I'm going to do what I'm good at, and that's teach other people how to be good at basketball and get better at basketball, et cetera. And that's what Herb did. And of course, Ren was able to continue on where Herb had left off and go play in the NBA. And, that's a testament to him as well and his hard work that he put in. So for sure.
Didn't he have, if I remember correctly, didn't his brother Lou train there too?
Oh yeah, Lou. Well, Lou's the little brother.
Right.
So, Lou went to UT at first, and then, golly, he was so good. If you ever watched him, Raleigh, Egypt, I believe, high school at Raleigh, Egypt. I'm from the Bartlett area, so we grew up, man, Lou is killing it. Of course, I knew Lou, and I secretly was rooting him on whenever they would play Bolton. But yeah, Lou worked hard, and because he worked hard, of course, that made Ren work even harder. I can't have my little brother catch up with me. Lou could shoot. He was a shooter, different style player. Right. He could shoot, ran around the perimeter. Ren could shoot anywhere on the court, but he also is going to body you up and get to the rim. That's it. So
completely. How tall was Lou?
Oh man, was he 6'6", 6'7"?
I thought he was a few inches. Yeah, he was tall, but he was a few inches shorter than Lorenzen.
Yeah, he was thinner frame, but still tall. 6'7", I believe, was where he was. Yeah, and close his eyes and shoot anywhere on the court.
I never knew that.
Yeah, he was spectacular.
I met him, several times at the gym and everything, but I never got to see him play.
Yeah, he had some opportunities, things didn't go his way, and that happens with a lot of people. So, yeah.
Absolutely. When Lorenzen went to the Hawks in August of '99, you started working with him and training him, and obviously you knew him because you guys trained together in Memphis, but that was right after high school and college. You're in your early 20s at the time, and now you're training an NBA player. I think I probably know the answer, but why do you think that he chose you to train him?
You know what? Because I paid attention. I'm going to be honest with you. I paid a lot of attention to his movements and stuff. And we'll get into this a little more in the training stuff when we do, but
Sure.
I got to work a lot with players on movement and patterns and strength and explosiveness on the court, et cetera. And I could move really quickly as well. So the players getting to see that. So I would play pickup basketball as well with them. And let me tell you, I'm not going to ever claim to shoot, et cetera. But, it would be NBA versus NFL in there. And I would hop in. But when they needed an extra player, Beau, hop in. All right, cool. I'm out there. I can dribble. I can rebound. I can play defense. Offense, I'm going to the rim and passing it. I'm not getting anywhere near the hoop playing against those guys. But the fact that I competed against them with no issues, of course, he thought was good. And then, truthfully, he just asked my dad, is Beau ready? And my dad said, laughed and, yeah, whatever.
That was what my thought was when I said I probably knew. I thought he probably, my thought was that he went to Dean.
Oh, come on. Yeah, for sure. And, when I was traveling, I'll be brief on this. I had just finished high school and was in college playing a sport. And in the summertime, he's like, Beau, what's up? You going with me? And he had already asked Dean, of course, like you said. But, and that was my first, be gone a month. In the summer, I'm not in school. Sure. Where are we going? Right. It doesn't matter. Just have your stuff and be ready to train me. And I was, boom, thrown in right there. I had college on either side of the summer and, training for my sport and making sure he was ready. So,
who were some of those players that played in those pickup games?
Oh, man. Well, Isaac Bruce, of course. Jerome Woods. You remember they would always be there.
Yep.
Brevin Knight, Cedric Henderson. Some of I don't know, you remember some of those guys.
Yeah, I remember all
running in and out of there.
Yep.
Mike McKenzie, Reggie Howard.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
I remember when Isaac Bruce came in with a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God, that was so awesome.
Dude, and just, the most humble man on the planet. Golly.
He let me touch the ring. I thought that was just the coolest thing.
Oh, yeah. how many chances you get to touch an actual Super Bowl ring, right?
I know, exactly. I met Lorenzen, several times, at the facility over on Winchester. Actually, I met him, I think, before over at Quinton, in the Perkins area, in the 90s. I never really tried to have in-depth conversations with him. We always said hello to each other. He was very nice. And most of the time he said hello first, just like you said, just so outgoing. I felt like, this guy's here to work out. Probably a lot of people bother him everywhere he goes. I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to jump on and be that, fan that wants to bother him. It seems like he took what he did seriously, but he didn't take himself too seriously. What do you think?
I would agree with that. He joked around a lot.
Yeah.
But while he was doing stuff, so let's say he has a session planned where we're going to get up 1,000 shots. He's joking the whole time. He's putting the shot up, joking in between. Put the shot up, joking in between. Yeah. But you have to be like that. Then if you're not, for him, he had to be like that. That was a way that he would not stress himself out, because he could have. There was plenty on his plate to stress him out, and he didn't. So I'm
sure he got bothered I use that word bothered, but he got approached almost everywhere he went.
Oh, especially in Memphis. Who at that time, everybody knew him, every single person. But what was crazy, he never didn't engage. He always engaged. If they said something, leaned, wait a second, who is that? He'd smile, give them if they came up to him, he'd shake their hand. And most people, everywhere he went, he would know somebody, and they would have a conversation about a place and time where they had met. He would know them, remember their name. You're like, wow, how are you remembering all these people? Different walks of life too. all different demographics, didn't matter where you were, anything.
Just such charisma, such a good looking guy and outgoing. I mean, it had to be so much fun to be around.
Oh, a blast. I mean, and I'm in my early, I was 18, 19 at first traveling, and then in my 20s carried on. And I mean, it was different for everybody to want to be around him and his family, like all these people. I'm like, all right, well, I just feel like one of the family. Right. I'm always around them, whatever, and his energy, crazy. And of course, you knew that he would, like, even if somebody didn't know who he was, because he was so big, he was a large human, in shape human, great looking guy, always smiling. That was
always smiling.
Always smiling. That was it. I mean, who doesn't want to come up and say, hey, what's up? I know you're somebody. Even if they didn't, if you're in another country or whatever, I know you're somebody, but okay. And hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You might not tell him every time who he is. Maybe he threw a joke out, like you said, don't take himself seriously. Oh yeah, I'm a pro. I think one time he said he was like a jockey. Yeah, the Kentucky Derby's coming up next week, right? Yeah, I'm in town for that. And it's a puzzled look on their face.
Right.
So
that's awesome. I heard a story that Lorenzen had a guy called Raw Dog, and he was on the staff to do one thing every morning, and that was to make sure that he got out of bed, no later than 9:15 a.m. Is that true? And if so, did Raw Dog ever have difficulty with that sometimes?
Raw Dog, how did you hear that?
I'm good.
You are good. Yeah. Raw Dog. Oh man, love that man. That man can dance too. Anyway, he was a good time. Raw Dog was a good time, and Ren, no alarm clock. Just make sure he's up. That's it.
Right.
Some of those duties might have been pushed on to me once we started traveling more. Because I really had to make sure he was up. At that time is, make sure I'm up. We're good. Make sure I get up. I eat. I go run. Yada, yada, yada with Raw Dog. And then, once I was around more, it kind of shifted a little bit. But if I wasn't around, I wasn't around all the time. When I wasn't around, then of course he had to make sure he was up, because guess what? I'm coming over and showing up at the house. And if nobody's answering the door,
right.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I can't miss a workout. So yeah, he did have what we would call a Raw Dog alarm clock. So yeah.
Are you shopping for a new watch, an engagement ring, any kind of jewelry at all? What's up, Memphis? This is Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Grizzlies, encouraging you all to shop where I shop, Platinum Jewelers here in Memphis. Platinum Jewelers has a big selection of earrings, stockable rings, luxury watches, necklaces, bracelets, really whatever you need. 9387 Poplar next to Fresh Market in Germantown. So if you need anything jewelry related, go to my spot, Platinum Jewelers.
During the 2001 NBA draft, Lorenzen was, part of a deal that sent him, Brevin Knight, who you talked about, and Pau Gasol, who had been chosen third in the draft that year by the Hawks. They sent him to the Grizzlies for Sharif Abdul-Rahim. How excited was he to be able to come back here and play in front of this home crowd?
There's no words on that one. I mean, come on. Back in Memphis, the 75% of the freaking fans were going to be know who he is.
Right.
So, it was, beyond. Once again, the guy was so excited about everything. He never took any situation and made it, a negative out of it. Everything was positive. Okay, well, let's go. How can I make this even better? Well, it's in Memphis. We can make it way better. So, yeah.
One thing I remember, the way he dunked the basketball. You remember, there's some people that you don't even remember the way he dunked. Yeah. That guy had a special way of dunking that ball.
Yes, he did. Oh my gosh. The amount of force he would come down on that rim with, and just, two-handed. I mean, he was a heavy two-handed dunker. Get out of the way. like, get out of the way, people. I mean, once again, for those who don't know, a heavy two-handed dunker.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking just rattling everything in the arena when he would dunk it. Place would go nuts. The Grizzly, oh man, when he would do it here in Memphis, I mean, you remember how crazy it would get. It would get so loud every time.
Right.
And it could be, I'll throw a scenario out here. Let's say that Ren had to sit out because, something was tight a couple weeks. He comes back in, he plays the last 10 minutes of the game, boom, gets the ball. He's going to dunk it. There is no chance he's not attempting a dunk in a game. Right. And then the place goes nuts. Didn't matter when he was in the game, anything. It was happening.
There's so much excitement around that guy in every facet of his life.
Yep. Yeah. Everything he did was exciting. I mean, traveling, you're going to do everything fun when you travel. You're also going to work hard. Right. Play hard, work hard. It worked for him.
You trained him, for many years, Beau. Every summer you talked about between 99 and 2004. And then I believe you and Ashley moved to Atlanta in 2006 for you to be his personal trainer when he went back to the Hawks. You trained him in Sacramento in 2008. And you were there briefly with him in Cleveland that same year. There obviously is a really strong connection between the two of you. What do you think made this relationship so special? And why do you believe that it worked so well for so long?
I'll go back to my point I made earlier when he asked my dad about me, and it's because I paid attention. There's a lot of people in life that will come in and out of your life, but they won't really pay attention to what's happening.
Right.
I would like to think a good quality of mine is paying attention to what's going on. And I paid attention to everything going on in his life, workout life, basketball life, home life, living in a hotel life, and was able to maneuver around those things and still make him motivated to keep going and take the next step, even towards the end of the career, et cetera. So, and then that, of course, turned into a different relationship. When you're around somebody that much, you have to like each other,
right?
To some extent. I mean, there is a fact that he was paying me to tell him what to do, so he had to listen to me and I had to listen to him. There had to be a mutual respect there, and we had that, and we could sit down and have conversations together, with no bias on either end. We tell each other how we felt, and that's it. And then move along with our day. So, it started off as a work relationship, and it developed to way more than that. So,
what a friendship there, because, you talk about how, he knew that you paid attention to him. He knew that you cared.
Yeah.
He knew that you weren't there just because he was Lorenzen Wright, NBA basketball player that's paying you money, because obviously you could make money anywhere. He knew you cared about him.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yes. I'd also like to think that I do care about everybody that I come into contact with, and especially get to be around. Absolutely. In that facet, for sure. He, I cared for him a lot, like a lot. I mean, don't really get to put into words a lot of times how I felt over the years about him, his family, and how important a piece of light he was in my life. And the fact that I got to hang around for that long with him and his family, I'd like to, believe the same thing back. So
absolutely. He was also a very, giving and generous person, probably to a fault. I know he had a lot of people in his entourage. I believe their name was, quote, the right stuff, unquote. He paid these guys a lot of money. He helped out a cousin that was going through some hard times, helped a longtime friend that, was majoring in business in college and had to drop out because the bills got too high. He was, part of a group of, NBA players from Memphis that included Penny Hardaway, Todd Day, and Elliot Perry. provided some financial assistance to an orphan in Memphis named Travis Butler. Why was he so giving to others? And in many cases, it seems like that he put other people's happiness before his.
That's upbringing. I got to look at his parents for that one. He never saw somebody he didn't want to help when they asked. You said to a fault, and I would agree with you. He never said no.
Right.
Never said no. When somebody was in need of something, he did it. I can't tell you a time he said no, screw off, or no, I'm not gonna. I mean, that man, yes, okay. You want this? I can do this. Golly. I mean, I could think back over the years and nothing that I could think of where he ever said, oh, heck no, or no, when somebody asked and needed something, and that would gain help from from him.
Right.
And that, yes, was to a fault as well. But in his eyes, he was helping them better themselves, giving them an opportunity. He got an opportunity. He was just passing it on, giving others opportunities.
Right.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you got it. I was going to say something. You had the right stuff.
Yeah.
You had the right clan. Here's something funny. If you can picture me, I'm throwing this out there. On the third story of his Southwind home, he had a studio, and he had a picture. And one day he's like, Beau, you got a snapshot of yourself? Just send me a Polaroid or something. Okay, what is this for? And one day we go over to his house, like, come on upstairs. Let's mix some beats. Let's, some of the guys, if you want to call it entourage, our group were, could rap, they could throw some lyrics down, and I was not included in that. Let me just throw that out there. So we walk in, he's like, man, just listen to what we're, mixing up today. And, I hear E-Man putting some stuff together. I'm like, man, this is pretty good. And then I turn around and there's a mural of all of us on the wall, me included. So you were asking about how I think he felt. For me to be put on that mural, I mean, and I didn't have a cell phone I could take a picture like, hey, this is so cool. That's a mental Instagram I will have for the rest of my life. It's awesome. And the others in the crew as well. So yeah.
I'm sure there probably were a few emotional times together over all those years.
Oh yeah. Golly. Oh, definitely ups and downs. Like I said, I mean, I was with him and his family, all the kids, his wife. We were together all the time, every trip. And so during college, I was with him in the summertime. So it was with family. And then sometimes it'd be a small trip if we had to go to Germany for dogs. He loved dogs. So we would go to dog shows in Germany, and I would be there with him, training in the morning. I mean, trying to convert, kilograms to pounds it was crazy. And then in the meanwhile, going and meeting all these people with dogs and trying to translate and do this and that. But yes, I mean, the family, a lot of good times. And then, a lot of tough times too. I mean, you're raising kids in multiple cities and trying to, give them the best rearing possible. And they did, they in Atlanta to, get them where they need to be, to learn, to grow, to be great citizens in this world too. And they had a lot on their plate, but the time they got through it. So
I'm sure you also have, tons of stories that are funny, that probably stick out the most, that make you still smile today and laugh, when you think about them. If you'd share maybe a couple that come to mind.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Oh, I got one for you. So he's in Atlanta, but we're back in he's playing for Atlanta, but we're back in Memphis. Okay, and he's doing one of his camps. He always did, to go back to him giving. He did that camp at the Tomb of Doom. I mean, at the pyramid every year until they didn't let him do it anymore. I'm not happy about that, but anyway, but so he does the tournament, and you got the Tomb of Doom, and we're going down through security, and let's see, we have to. So this is what it was. He normally did it at the Tomb of Doom. So they moved it to, was it the FedEx Forum? And when did that come in about? About
2004.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So they had moved it from the pyramid. Sorry, it sometimes gets a little blurry, but we used to do it at the pyramid. And then he moved it over to that. So during college, I'd go to the pyramid and watch it happen. So now, fast forward 2006, he's with the Hawks. He comes home to do the tournament. We're at FedEx Forum. I come walking in, and they're like, hold up, who are you? And I had a hat on backwards. I took the hat off. I had blonde, like bleach blonde hair. He goes, oh my gosh. And Ren smiles and goes, why are you giving him a hard time? That's freaking J-Will, man. and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, what's up? Boom, boom, boom. And he's like, you know what? Speaking of, and then we go into the locker room, and he just takes me in there and like, oh, let me take you to your locker. They just got some, this, that, and the other. And we went in there, and they ended up giving him some Grizzly swag for rent, just because we're there. He's giving him Grizzly swag with the FedEx Forum. And they're like, Mr. Williams, we just got a new set of all these, he's not going to like to hear that. We got a new set of all these shorts of yours. So Ren's like, yeah, go ahead and get one of those right now. And so Lorenzen grabs a pair of shorts, gives it to me. It's like, just throw them on. And I put them on. So I'm always going to have a pair of J-Will shorts. Awesome. It was, he's just goofing off, having a good time. I got, here's one. I guess this will be almost a more recent joke, actually. So we were very regimented on how he was going to eat. Okay, so it's the off season. I got up to 255. I took a month off. Now it's time for me to shred some pounds. Okay, we're going to lift. We're going to eat every 2 hours. We're going to be on this amount of carbs, this amount of simple sugar, yada, yada, yada. And so we talked to the chef. All right, this is what I want you to cook. Okay, great. This Chef Rod, this is what we're going to cook. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. Man, if I didn't talk to Chef Rod 2 years ago at one of my other players, I ran into him. He said, Beau, did Red ever tell you late at night he'd call me and have me come cook up some hot wings and French fries and the deep fryer? I said, what? I said, no wonder.
That's so like, funny.
Oh. But he still worked hard, still was able to, keep that.
That's so funny. You never knew.
No. So, so he was always having fun,
right?
Just not taking himself too seriously. Yeah.
That's awesome. If Lorenzen was still with us, what would have gone through his mind when he got the news that his number 55 jersey is being retired? And what do you think maybe a few words he would have said to the crowd at the FedEx Forum this Saturday?
That's a great question. Well, he was a great speaker if you ever heard him talk. I mean, the man could give an interview and I can't even give it justice. But he would always lighten the room with a light, he would relate a story to somebody, which he was really good at. And then he would say how humbled he was to do it. And that he probably would say that he didn't deserve it. The city of Memphis deserved this. Because of them, he was a great player and was able to do these things for the city and give back to the city. And, more than honored to be, up in the rafters with those numbers, man. So.
Well, we know that he's, up there looking down, and I'm sure he's going to be there. His presence and spirit and energy will be in the FedEx Forum, Saturday when they play Tulane and retire his jersey. It's been so much fun talking about Lorenzen. As I mentioned earlier, we've known each other a very long time. I've known you since you were a teenager. And I know that, you would have never trained him and worked with him for as long as you did if he was not someone who had good character. And you did because he did.
That's correct. Yeah, that's not even a question.
Right. Because I know you well enough to know that for sure.
Yeah. You do know me well. That's for sure.
I'd really like to thank, our sponsor, Platinum Jewelers, and thank, Beau, you coming on the show today to share with the audience a little bit about, your really close friend. I'm sure that you still miss him to this day. And
Words don't describe it.
I'm, excited that we got to hear more about him because I found out a lot of stuff that I did not know. And that's always exciting for me. And I look forward to having you back on soon for part 2 to talk about your amazing father, Dean, who, I love so much, and hear more about your life and what's going on with you and Ashley and the kids.
I can't wait to tell you more.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on today, buddy.
All right. Thank you. I'll see you, buddy.
Here.
All right. Bye.